Time to open up and get real with each other. This is Unfinished Business, the podcast from Vodafone Business, spilling the tea on running a business in Australia. A space for sharing the scrappy wins, the hilarious stumbles, and tales of growth from the entrepreneurial roller coaster ride. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Unfinished Business, the brand new series from Vodafone Business diving deep into the real world of running a business. I'm Anaita Sarkar and I am so excited to be hosting this new show because it's time we moved way past the polished LinkedIn post and get into the real juicy reality of what it takes to start a business. Keep it going and keep it growing. Now, I have to confess, I am a business addict. After ditching the corporate path, I got into the world of small business with a fashion brand called Olivia & Co. I then co-founded Hero Packaging, which is Australia's first zero-waste shipping mailer. And now we manufacture all of our products in-house. And we now have up to 80,000 customers around the world with 3 million products sold. And for the past 5 years, I've run an online community called Sell Anything Online. And to top it off, I recently launched a new business called Staje along with some amazing co-founders. So the point is, I just love talking about business because I live and breathe it every single day. And that's what we're doing here. Think of this as a space for us to come together, share stories, and get some growth hacks from some of the country's best entrepreneurs. And above all, realize that you are not alone on this crazy and usually exhausting journey to success. Each episode, I will be joined by an awesome entrepreneur who has been on the same growth journey, and together we'll take a look at some real-world business confessions from across the country, and then we'll be joined by another brave business owner who will hit us up with a problem to unpack and possibly solve right here, right now, live on the podcast. And we are starting with a bang because I am joined by a man whose official job title is Chief Smuggler. It's Adam Linforth, founder of the iconic Aussie swimwear brand you see at every single beach, Budgy Smuggler. Adam, welcome to Unfinished Business.
Oh, I'm stoked to be here and rip in with you today.
I would love to discuss first and foremost the coffee stain on your t-shirt.
Yeah, or you wanted like real behind the scenes. This is the result of having I'd like to say it's a result of having a 2 and 4 year old, but no, just like literally,
it's just you.
I just literally spilt it walking in, and then yeah, it was either this or in my smugglers, and it's still the morning time, so I thought
you should have done the Budgy Smugglers today.
All right, well, round 2.
Next time.
Happy to, yeah.
Well, what you have created, and we were just discussing before this, but what you've created is a 20-year-old brand, which is insane.
Yeah.
The fact that I've seen it on TV, I've seen it on billboards, I've seen it everywhere I go, I've heard of Budgy Smuggler. Do you want to tell me how this business got started?
Yeah, well, it all started as a joke. So probably like a lot of people starting businesses out there, it was literally just, jokes and blokes writing Budgy Smuggler on the back of an existing made pair. And then from there started a little online business.
Yeah.
And my friends used to joke that it was I used to say it was a hobby, and they'd say it was an expensive hobby, because I had a full-time job for the first 10 years.
Did you?
Yeah, so it was a side hustle. We were making Budgy Smugglers, and back then board shorts were sort of past the knee. And so we had to go about building a brand that people loved and felt comfortable to shed the board shorts, or curtains of shame, as we sometimes call them, and free their thighs, and that's the mission we're on today, to free the thighs of the world.
Well, nothing's changed. You're still freeing the thighs of the world for 20 years.
Exactly, and I think if you're on some sort of mission, that helps to keep it fresh for you and keep it going. So yeah, that's literally our mission, to free the thighs of the world.
I'm actually in awe of you because you are such an iconic Australian brand, and you have no idea the impact that you have, because every single business owner I know is always mentioning Budgy Smuggler as like how to create a brand. So like, well done to you.
Yeah, like it's funny. I never thought about creating a brand. I just thought about doing something that my friends loved and that meant something to people.
Yeah.
And so a lot of what we do as part of that is trying to find things that mean things to people. So, we manufacture in Australia from the start. Even when we weren't making money, we were supporting community events. So I feel like that's been a bit of the magic sauce to do things that we we're interested in, try and support the community, try and do something that's remarkable, and then eventually, hopefully that helps to get you through and differentiate you.
I think I love the word remarkable, because I think if you're always striving for remarkable or something different, not always better, but something different, it really helps any brand to grow and stand out in this like very competitive market.
Yeah, and like social media is flooded with, people trying to get your attention. So when we think about the word remarkable, we mean it in the literal sense. So worth making a remark about.
Yeah.
And so if you look at like some of the most we do a lot of like outrageous designs.
You do, yeah.
There's, a pair called the Spitting Cobras with like a snake right on the front. Like some of it's out there, but it's to get people to stop.
To talk about it.
And make a remark. And a little hack, sometimes we do those really crazy ones and people don't really buy them, but it gets the attention and then they come on and they buy a darker pair or a chili pair or something that's more conservative. So, I think being remarkable is in the older times, pre-social media, that would be what creates word of mouth.
Yeah. And
so we've been focused on trying to stop people and do things that are deep and meaningful and get people to generate that word of mouth.
I love it. I love everything that you do. Can you tell everyone what you actually do day to day? Because you're not just, I wouldn't call you a small business owner anymore. You're like the founder of a huge company in Australia. What does your everyday look like?
I guess where my role is looking at where the business wants to be in 1 to 3 years.
Yeah. So
fortunate now we've got a really good team. It's about 30 of us in total. So we're a medium-sized business, I'd say.
Yep.
So I've got a really good general manager who's helped a lot. And then my role is really to try and be in the next 1 to 3 years or doing new things. Mm-hmm. So we've set up offices in the UK and France.
Yep.
So it was my role to go over there to get them up and running. We've opened 3 stores, so Manly, Bondi and one in Newcastle. So I'm sort of hands-on helping to open them.
Do you actually go into store?
Yeah, physically go into the store, like sort the leases. My wife's a designer, so she does the fit outs of the store. So
awesome.
It's a sort of family
and
effort.
Your brother is in the business too.
And my brother runs our e-commerce and production. So it's kind of a dual role. Actually, we just got our first ever website, like proper manager. She started on Monday. So we've gone 20 years without a website manager.
I think that's a hack actually for small business owners, because they feel like they need to hire really, really quickly and get the professionals in. You can actually have a very successful business without having a website person.
Yeah, like there's a lot of really good platforms now and AI's kind of taking it to another level as well. So my role's looking at the new things. So we've set up 3 stores, Manly, Bondi and Newcastle. So I'll physically go out there and help with them. And then the other new thing that we're doing at the moment is sort of wholesale, which we haven't done historically, but just did our second year with Rebel, and that's been a little bit of a game changer for us because did a sort of test and that went really well, and now we've gone to 130 stores or something.
Wow.
So that's helping to grow the brand, and we're getting along really well with the team there. So that's kind of new territory for us. So
do you have standalone stores or are they in shopping centres, and why did you choose one or the other?
Sure. So our stores in Manly and Bondi are standalone, and then we're in a shopping centre in Newcastle. Look, it's about foot traffic in the end. We did start in quite a quiet spot in Manly, and that store built its own following, but we've transitioned out to look for places that are higher footfall. And I like the ones that are, for us, near the beach so people can practically buy them and go and change. Yeah, so that kind of helps your conversion rate, but might not be suited to every brand. But I like the tourist areas as well because it's new customer acquisition, I guess.
I love the idea of targeting tourists because obviously they're going to want an Australian-made, Australian brand that has Aussie things all over it.
Exactly.
It's a no-brainer.
Exactly. So we found that. The last year's been really good. There's been so many events for Australia, like the British and Irish Lions tour, the Cricket Ashes.
Yes.
So if you can be in places where those fans are, that is a good one to get English or US or whatever the sporting event might be.
If I could just ask you one thing that you love the most about working at Budgy Smuggler right now, not back in the day, but right now, what would it be?
Like I'm a big sports fan, and so I love seeing like my favourite athletes wearing budgie.
Yeah.
And then there was a long time where I wouldn't see anyone wearing it at the beach. So just when I go for a swim in the morning and I see people wearing budgie, there was such a long time where I'd get excited and think it was someone like who was a random, and then it would be my brother or a relative or someone wearing it. So now just to have made that from when it was a hobby or I'd never see it to people like enjoying Australia in them is what I love.
That's incredible. I have to ask this, but what is one of the most frustrating things about running Budgy Smuggler?
Yeah, well, I guess I've got like big ideas and hopes and dreams, and then there's still a financial reality. So I think people from the outside look and go, oh, you know, you've got to 10 million, 20 million, whatever the figure is, all your problems are solved. But no, there's still like cash flow to deal with and just a little bit of frustration about wanting to get to that next step. So my current goal is to have a rooftop pool at our warehouse in Brookvale. And I'm fighting to get there.
Yeah.
So I'd like a 25-metre lap pool, like a massive TV where I can we can watch sports and something that's really cool for our team.
And the business case would be influencer events. Let's go with the business case rather than what you want.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, the business case, and then also the financial case. So sometimes my dreams take a little bit longer, and I don't know, I've never lost that wanting to like do things bigger and better and make Australia proud, I guess.
Well, that's what makes Budgy Smuggler. It's you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, now that we know you a little bit better, we're going to go into a section we call Reality Check. For this part of the show, we asked small business owners to share their business confessions, moments that they have messed up or done something that they regretted, and what they can do next. Our first one comes from an event organiser who runs awards. Let's have a listen.
Hi Anita, my business specialises in running awards, and every year we take female business leaders to New York. In 2025, we did something new and created billboards for them in Times Square, lighting up their brands and award wins. We also organised a photographer for the shoot. That night, New York got to -7 degrees. Jackets, scarves, gloves everywhere, as we rushed to get everyone in the right place at the right time. The photos arrived the next day and looked amazing, until I noticed something in every photo. A bright green van advertising cesspool services. After all that effort to get these women onto billboards in Times Square, the most visible thing in the photo was a sewage cleaning van. It was a good reminder that in business, when you step into the spotlight, sometimes you've got to take the spotlight with a shit.
I mean, so true. I bet you have had stuff like that happen to you.
Yeah, I remember our earliest photo shoots. I was so broke that I had to get my mates to buy the smugglers and then go in the shoot. So thank you, fellas. I gave them a discount. They were 50% off. And then it wasn't a shoot, but the most trouble we've ever got into was there was a group of guys who went to an event in Malaysia. It was a Formula One event, and Danny Ricciardo, an Australian, won on the last lap, and they stripped into budgie smugglers. And it didn't go down.
You would have got into so much trouble.
No, they ended up in jail.
Wait, what?
Yeah, for 3 nights, I think. And it's a bit of an international
What was the
affair.
charge?
Bringing the country into disrepute. So I can honestly say that's not a good idea. But a cesspool van's pretty bad too. So you've just got to do your best to literally weather these
What would you
situations.
do in her situation?
Thankfully, there's AI and we can Photoshop some of it these days.
Yeah.
But I love that she's done a real shoot, and I think the story behind it is actually going to be what's got legs, and I'd be turning that from a shoot gone wrong into a PR opportunity.
Yes, that's really smart. I was going to say something similar in that use it to your advantage. Keep the truck in there or the van and actually do a lot of TikTok videos just about the fact that it was in there. And we're trying to celebrate these women in business, and we even got them billboards at Times Square, and there's this truck in the background.
These girls have fought through all the shit, and here they are in Times Square.
Here's the shit and all,
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, so I think the PR angle is super interesting for this one. I think every opportunity is obviously an option to just redirect that into something even funnier.
Yeah.
And I think we're laughing about it, but I can just imagine how stressed she would have been to see the photos and to think, I've got to share this with the female founders and then I want to take them to press, but how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
I think you've got to just get into it.
It's literally remarkable. So I'd be telling the story behind the scenes, getting that on socials. If you've got a journalist or someone you know, like get the story to them.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's got a whole nother set of legs in it.
Totally. And even if you don't know a journalist, a really great thing that I have done in the past is to put every single mistake I've ever made, I've put on TikTok. Mm-hmm. And journalists are actually looking for stories and trawling TikTok to find these business stories. It's a really good way to actually get access to a journalist.
Love that.
Yeah. Okay, we have one more reality check of a business owner. Let's have a listen.
Okay, so I recently went into business with my brother-in-law and we've built a good client list so far. But I've noticed that he picks his favourites he wants to work with and he kind of leaves me with the dregs. He also disappears when things get difficult with the client. And guess who has to pick up the pieces? It's got to the point where we barely talk outside of work, even at family events. And it's causing friction in the family, to be honest. I don't know how to address it with him. I want us to keep up the momentum, but something has to change.
Yeah, it sounds like a difficult conversation needs to be had.
Yeah. that is a tricky one. So I work with all my family, like literally from my mum does the account still, my brother does the website and production, my sister's sort of our creative director.
Wow.
So I've run out of relatives to work with. So I can appreciate some of the challenges there. I think probably there's two things happening. Like you're a brother and then you're a business partner.
Exactly.
Right? So you got to treat those two things separately and you have to address the business situation on its own as if he was not your brother and tackle that, get down, maybe get a third person, not a relative, to be a kind of like a mentor or someone else that you know and who might have a different type of business. Share the concern with them, and then you got to tackle it because if it festers, it might ruin. You'll burn out in the business, and then it might also cause some long-term resentment with the family. So they're two different things. You're brothers and your business partners. Tackle the business partner thing with what your concerns are, and you can't. When you work with family, you have to hold them to the same or a higher account than everyone else. Or as you go, people will be like, oh, your brother gets away with everything. So you need to stop that pretty quick. Yeah.
Well, I mean, how do you start those conversations? I feel like I have hired family and friends in the past and it hasn't gone that well. And it ends up ruining a friendship sometimes. And I really don't like that, mainly because it's my fault. I haven't actually had the guts to have a difficult conversation. I've kind of just let the friendship die off. How do you start these conversations so that your relationship isn't ruined at family parties?
Yeah, well, the ideal would be to have it written down on paper. Like, here's the 4 to 6 things that are part of your role.
Yeah.
And then you can just refer back, hey, here's your role. You're not doing it. You work with clients from, 1 million to 3 million. You can't just pick the ones that are in that, that you love and leave me with everyone else. Get it down on paper, have clear responsibilities about what is your role and also what isn't. And then hopefully you can just keep referring back to the document rather than I feel like you're doing this. I feel like I get the trickier clients. Yeah.
I think that is such a smart thing. I mean, like the feeling when you say something like, I feel like you're not helping me, it just is not great, but written down is just such a special thing to do. I actually heard someone talk about how you should have a personal user guide for everyone in the company. And I think that's really funny to do because for me, as my team has grown, I've realized people don't know how to work with me and what type of leader that I am. And I don't know that about others. And it could be a really cool thing to do, even with family members, even with friends, to have a user manual on yourself that you hand out to people to say, this is how to work with me. How do you like to be worked with? And let's talk about it.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a visual learner, so I want like a document with pretty pictures.
Yeah.
And so when people send me like long emails, it doesn't really work. I just want like bullet points with a pretty visual picture and I can consume that a lot better. So now that my team knows that, we can work a lot more smoothly.
Okay, well, I think it's basically have a difficult conversation and separate out your personal thoughts and feelings from what's actually happening at work.
100%.
Okay, Adam, it is Growth Hotline time. And so you better lock in because we have a business owner who needs us. He's going to share his challenges and we are going to help him to try and solve them.
I cannot wait. Let's go.
So today we have Shawn Singh from Copper Culture joining us. It's so great to meet you, Shawn. I want to ask you so many questions about business, but do you want to, before we get into it all, do you want to just tell us a little bit about what Copper Culture is and also what you do?
No problem. Yeah. So my name's Shawn. I'm the founder of Copper Culture. Copper Culture aims to be the best copper drinkware provider in the world. Now, why is that important, right? So copper has been used for thousands of years across the Middle East, Turkey, and India, purely for its antimicrobial benefits. And so if you put some water into a copper bottle or a copper jug, it kills 99.9% of bacteria within 3 to 5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's well and truly the number one benefit of copper. Alongside that, there's a few Ayurvedic benefits as well. Stomach digestion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That can help you through your time.
Is it quite heavy?
Our bottles have about 320 grams of copper in them.
Okay.
Our jugs are about 700 grams of copper. And then we
Yeah.
have a copper dispenser, which holds 5 liters of water. That's about 1.5 kilos of copper. So can be pretty pricey.
When did you actually start this business and like where is it today? What are we looking at?
Yeah, so I started this business in 2022 while I was working a full-time job
COVID
at a
time?
fintech startup. Sort of tail end of COVID.
Yeah.
November 2022. And I started by buying, like 100 units at a time. And then I crafted up my Shopify site and work got in the way. Then I had the twin girls. But I kept persistent at it, kept consistent at it. Today, I quit my job 7 months ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Full-time now into Copper Culture. And we're doing about 200 to 250 orders a day.
Are you?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's across a range of channels and in Australia and the US.
That's actually incredible.
Yeah, fantastic.
Well
I looked at your website. I thought for people listening or watching that it's a really good example of like how to set up an e-com website. I thought that the reviews were there. Like you've got hundreds of reviews. That's showing it's a great product. And when it's more than like 3 or 4, and you get to 300 or 400, you feel a lot of confidence in the brand.
Yes.
And then what you've done with social influencers and social proofing with the videos of people using the product, I think Copper Culture is a really good website to check out. Did it take you a long time to develop all of that, or are you doing this yourself with Shopify? What does that look like?
So I got a shout out to my queen, my wife. She designed
nice.
the first version of the website when she was on maternity leave.
Family business, we love it.
Yeah, that's right. And we essentially then sort of pivoted over the last couple of months into, okay, how do we actually maximize conversion rate on the website? Because we were telling a great story, we had a valuable business, but how do we just like get that little bit more juice on it? And so hired a team recently, an agency that helped me, and they were pretty good. And we actually just launched that website that you saw, Adam, a week ago.
And what's been the impact of the change in website on your conversion rate?
Early days, but we were doing around roughly 3.5% conversion rate at the start. And over the last week, we've seen days where we've had 6% with no offers on.
Okay, that's huge.
Wow.
But it's now molded down to in the low 4s.
Okay, that's really healthy territory.
I mean, the average for e-com in Australia is 1%. So that is actually an incredible conversion rate, especially because you're getting that many orders as well, which means the traffic is huge, but you're converting a lot of them. That's amazing.
Correct. I think it gives to the niche, and if you market well, you can essentially attract that niche and get them to convert on the site as well.
Okay, well, I think we need to get into the problem that you need help with, because I'd love to know. It seems like you're doing everything right. Like, what is the challenge that you're facing right now?
So the biggest challenge that I'm facing is really inventory, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've been to China, I've been to India. These bottles are currently made in India with copper sourced from Chile. So to give you a little bit of how the timeline works, the copper comes from Chile into an Indian manufacturer. There is an Indian factory where there is some machinery and a lot of people, right? And so the machine essentially forms the bottle. Then there's a gentleman there hammering the bottle, another guy's making the lid, and then there's a bit of hand making, twisting and turning to get the lid to fit onto the bottle. Now, when you scale that out to 20,000 bottles every 3 months, you start to hit production roadblocks, right? And that's currently where we are. We're struggling to produce enough bottles to sort of meet the demand while still maintaining quality. 90+% of copper drinkware comes out of one city in India called Moradabad. Within the city, there's really only 3 factories that can tackle this sort of work. I've tried all 3, and there's 100 middlemen that sit around those factories trying to offer you the product as well. And my current setup is I've got a middleman that has very good relationships with the factory to help me sort of maintain that quality.
Yep.
But even then, we're still seeing issues in inventory landing in Australia once it's landed. And we're struggling to sort of even up the scale.
That is such a fascinating problem to have. The fact that you have that problem is not a good problem, but it's a problem of scale. And I would love to know how you have tackled this in the past, because you manufacture everything in Australia, don't you?
Yeah, so we do all our swimwear in Australia, and then pretty much everything else is made sort of in China, Indonesia. We actually have a similar challenge at the moment. There's not a lot.
I guess I'm solving both of your
not
problems.
a lot.
Today.
Yeah. We're going to put you on the spotlight because we're running out of production capacity as well, and there's not a whole lot of 20-year-olds in Australia going into garment making. The things that we're doing is looking for other multiple countries, but it sounds like maybe you're in a particularly unique situation. If I was going to go lateral solutions, it would be like, how much is it to make the molds and go sort of nuclear on it and try and just get the copper here and do it. I think you've actually started manufacturing here in Australia as well. And for us, what was the game changer was one of the time-consuming things to make swimwear is the cutting, and that's all done through lasers now. So the printing, the cutting is done by lasers, and then we sew them by hand. And so it costs us a bit more than making overseas, but the costs have come right down for the machines to help do the tooling. I don't know, how have you found manufacturing in Australia versus overseas, and difference in pricing and things like that? Honestly,
it's changed our business. Even just for cash flow purposes, we're able to make things on demand. And I think that's something that you could think about doing as well. Of course, it's actually quite expensive to do it, to get the machinery. But in the long term, I actually think it could be a really beneficial thing, because you can get the copper here, like Adam was saying, and essentially just make the molds yourself, which are the most expensive part of the bottling process, I assume. And then you don't need the person to make the bottle cap to hammer it into place. It's actually done more automatically here. I think is a shorter term solution to the problem that you're having. I would say you shouldn't always rely on one manufacturer. It's going to be a problem. That's something that has happened to us in the past as well, is just relying on one, and something has happened there and then they had to stop immediately, and we had tens of thousands of customers who couldn't get what they needed to. So relying on one is actually quite a dangerous territory to be in, and it was really good when you started, but now I think it's time to perhaps expand. I think you said you've got manufacturers in Indonesia, you've got China. I think looking at those other places too. My only thing is, I know that it's a very Indian, sentiment behind it.
Correct.
Is that why you have stuck to India?
So there's 2 reasons why I've stuck to India. I think you nailed number 1, which is the sentiment. Number 2 is, and I went to Canton Fair last year.
Yeah.
Trying to get deep into whether or not China has the capability to do it.
Yeah.
China has the capability to make mugs. It has the capability to make cups, but it cannot make, and can make jugs, but it can't make the bottles. And they don't have the right tooling in China to handle making lids out of copper, which actually just blew my mind.
Yeah.
And I was like, but there are machines in India that could do it. But no one's actually made that machine in China as of yet.
Oh.
And so there's a little bit of like, you probably could get it done, but you have to go
Yes.
very deep into exactly what that machine is being used to handle and make the copper
Okay,
lid.
wait, I have another idea.
Right.
That you could go to India and have people over there, hire more people to do the work and scale up that way. You could actually be part of that manufacturer and that you could be part of their business and partner with them in a much deeper way than what you are now. I think that, to me, is really good. It's almost second best to having the manufacturing facility here. What it sounds like is a machine can't do the job. It's people that are doing the job because it's actually handmade each way. So going over there and hiring people, that could also be a really good solution.
That was where my head was at for the logical next step, and I've looked into it. You know, I think it's a 1.5-2 million USD cost to get all the machinery and sort of set up your own factory, which was the path I was going down.
Yeah.
I've spoken about trying to work with those guys a little deeper, but I think Indian business operates very differently to business in Australia, and I'm not sure I'm quite prepared for that yet.
You might need to have boots on the ground over there. Actually
Yeah.
hire someone from here to go there. I remember there was a business called The Daily Edited. Do you remember The Daily Edited? They did personalised leather goods.
Yes,
it was a
phone
competitor
cases.
to my old business, but an amazing business. And I remember she actually had someone from here go and live in China to do the sourcing, to do the making, to make sure that the quality was amazing. And I know you do quality checks, but it could be good to just have a manager on ground.
I'd echo that. Like a lot of how business is done with overseas suppliers is very different once you've gone there and physically met with them.
Yeah.
So we're actually on that process now. My brother, who does all the product sourcing, has just been in Vietnam. He's going to China in a month. He's going to like the big fairs, but then he's individually going to the other businesses, and we invite them to Australia as well to come and see what we're doing. And hey, we have like a physical where and we exist. So I think, it's about trust as well.
100%.
And you can get a lot more once you've got that relationship. So for anyone there, like it's big and daunting,
Yeah.
but go and get to meet your suppliers. They'll have certificates sometimes about how well it's run, but you got to physically go there and see it with your own eyes.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I've been there twice, and we've also gone on a separate holiday together to Dubai for a couple of days. And that's every time I feel like I'm moving a step forward, whether it's in quality or whether it's in payment terms, to help grow and scale the business as well.
Brilliant.
Well, I hope we've helped you a little bit, but inventory management is so hard, and the fact that you're scaling so fast is such a great problem, a really crap problem, but a really great problem as well. And I think there's a few things, but really the summary of this is that, going over and meeting them again, maybe having boots on the ground over there, and ultimately having your own manufacturing plant here is the ideal solution.
Yep, I think that's the case.
Well, thank you so much, Shawn, for joining us. It has actually been such a pleasure to have you here, and we are going to be watching Copper Culture.
Absolutely.
And looking at its website and its new conversion rate.
My wife loves copper, so I'm going to be jumping on and getting one myself.
Same.
Pleasure.
Adam, thank you so much for being here. It has been such a pleasure to do this business episode with you.
I've loved it. That was heaps of fun. Thank you for having me.
Join us in our next episode for more unfinished business from Vodafone Business. In the meantime, give us 5 stars wherever you're listening to this podcast. Share it around with anyone who you think might get something out of it. I know I will. I'm Anaita Sarkar. Thank you for listening.